What happens to the human mind when you lock it away from time itself? No sunrise, no clock, no sense of day or night, just a cave, and the ticking of your own biology. Today we'll uncover Michel Siffre's legendary 1962 cave experiment, the science behind it, and why his findings still affect astronauts, medicine, and even our daily lives. If you love these hidden scientific stories, subscribe to Infinity and join us for more. In July 1962, French geologist Michel Siffre, only 23 years old at the time, descended into a glacial cave near Nice, France. His plan was not geological mapping but something far more unusual, to study how humans perceive time in complete isolation. The cave was chosen carefully. It was deep enough to block out daylight and external sounds, and cold enough to create a harsh but survivable environment. Temperatures hovered around freezing, and the air was damp. Siffre brought with him food, scientific instruments, camping equipment, and a phone line to communicate with a support team above ground. But there was one rule: they could never tell him the actual time or date. This was crucial, because the experiment depended on eliminating Zeitgebers, the German scientific term meaning time givers. These are external cues like sunrise, clocks, or social interaction that keep our internal biological clocks synchronized. Without those cues, Siffre would live according to only his body's natural rhythms. He would decide when to eat, when to sleep, and when to record his observations, all based on internal feelings of hunger and fatigue. The team above ground recorded every activity he reported through the phone line, allowing them to compare his perception of time with the actual passage of time on the surface. At the start, Siffre believed he was following a 24-hour routine. He thought he was sleeping for about 8 hours and awake for about 16, just as he would above ground. But very quickly, the cave environment began to interfere. His sleep patterns lengthened, his waking hours stretched, and soon he was living on days that were much longer than 24 hours without realizing it. The most important part, he wasn't just confused, his body was naturally shifting to a free-running circadian rhythm, slightly longer than a standard day. This was the beginning of a discovery that would influence everything from sleep medicine to space travel. After about a week, researchers noticed that Siffre's sleep-wake cycle was no longer in sync with real time. He was going to bed and waking up later each day. His average day had stretched to 25 to 30 hours, something completely normal in the absence of light cues. Scientists later confirmed that humans have a natural circadian rhythm of around 24.2 to 24.5 hours, not exactly 24. Siffre's internal clock showed that our bodies are slightly longer than Earth's day, and only daily sunlight resets us to match the 24-hour cycle. In the cave, his perception of time collapsed. When asked to count to 120 seconds, he often took 5 minutes. When asked later how long he thought he had been underground, he underestimated by almost a week. Physiologically, his core body temperature and hormone cycles, like cortisol and melatonin, also shifted. Normally, these hormones peak and fall according to day and night. In the cave, they drifted into irregular patterns. The consequences were significant: irregular sleep, fatigue, slower mental performance, and occasional hallucinations caused by sensory deprivation. His eating habits also changed. Without scheduled mealtimes, he sometimes ate at random hours, disrupting metabolism. This showed scientists how closely digestion is linked to circadian timing. Despite these challenges, Siffre's data collection was meticulous. Every time he woke, slept, ate, or did tasks, he reported it to the surface team, giving them a continuous record of how his body adjusted without external time. By the end, Siffre thought it was August 20th. In reality, it was September 14th. He had lost nearly a week, proving just how unreliable human perception of time can be in isolation. This was a scientific breakthrough. Humans need external cues to stay synchronized, or else our sense of time unravels. Encouraged by the success of his 1962 experiment, Siffre repeated the study in 1972 in a Texas cave, this time for 205 days, almost 7 months. In that longer isolation, the effects were even more dramatic. His sleep cycles became completely irregular. At times, he would stay awake for 36 straight hours before collapsing into long sleeps. Psychological strain increased. Siffre experienced intense loneliness, difficulty concentrating, and emotional breakdowns. He later described it as losing the boundary between day and night, between work and rest. These experiments established Siffre as the father of human chronobiology, the study of biological rhythms. The findings attracted attention from NASA and the European Space Agency, both interested in how astronauts would cope with time perception during space missions where the sun rises and sets every 90 minutes. His data directly influenced how space agencies design lighting systems, sleep schedules, and rotation shifts aboard spacecraft and space stations. It also applied to submarine crews, miners, and people in polar regions who live for months without normal day-night cycles. Siffre's work even influenced medicine. Studies on circadian disruption now connect irregular rhythms to depression, metabolic disorders, cancer risk, and cognitive decline. In 1999, at age 60, Siffre conducted his final cave isolation in Texas. Even then, his biological rhythms drifted, showing that circadian desynchronization affects all ages. Over his career, Siffre spent more than 6 months of his life underground, all in the name of understanding the human clock. Today, Siffre's cave experiments are considered milestones in modern science. They were the first to prove that humans have an internal circadian rhythm independent of external time. His work showed that the rhythm is slightly longer than 24 hours, and only resets properly when exposed to natural light and environmental cues. These findings are critical in space research. Astronauts on the International Space Station see 16 sunrises and sunsets per day, so artificial lighting and strict schedules are used to stabilize their circadian rhythms. They are equally important in medicine. Doctors now know that patients recover faster when hospital lighting and routines are aligned with natural circadian rhythms. In everyday life, shift workers and frequent travelers suffer from circadian misalignment. Studies inspired by Siffre help explain why night shift workers have higher risks of heart disease and why jet lag can seriously disrupt mental performance. His research also informs treatments for insomnia and seasonal affective disorder (SAD), where light therapy is used to reset the body clock. Chronobiology, born in those icy caves, is now a respected scientific field, and researchers continue to study how timing influences everything from drug effectiveness to mental health. Michel Siffre himself became a symbol of scientific endurance. Though he suffered mentally and physically, his sacrifices reshaped how we understand the human body. His cave, once just a patch of frozen rock, became the birthplace of an entirely new science that touches spaceflight, healthcare, and our daily routines. If you found this story eye-opening, subscribe to Infinity and share this video. Every week we bring you more hidden stories of science and history, stories that remind us that sometimes, the biggest discoveries happen in the strangest places.